All right, let's briefly talk about the web as its in its history. All these interlinked computers and servers and massive cloud servers that just an incredible tool today. It wasn't always like that. So let's take a look at its history. So, as mentioned, it's a network of computer addresses and domain names, all linked together through cable and other means. Um, In today's world, we often refer to these two items, the internet and the World Wide Web, as the same thing, but they're actually different. The internet is simply the linking of computers so they can communicate one with another. And that was done by academics, particularly in France, the UK, and America, as well as the Defense Department of the US. And then the World Wide Web, well, those are code standards such as HTML and CSS that allow for the sharing of information via browsers for everyday people. So, how can everyday people and their common computers access all the information and share information on the internet? Okay, so the development, late 1960s, um, there is the Advanced Research Project Agency Network. And again, it was funded by the U.S. Department of Defense and allowed through packets and other ways for computers to talk to one another over a single network. And it was something like this. So here we are, 1973. Um, Computers could send a few words at first, back and forth. So pretty limited at its stage right now. And the computers were gigantic, using massive amounts of electricity. Um, you know, and this to think that your phone is more powerful than that computer is also quite amazing. But that's where we've progressed in a short time. So we have these everyday computers for people, and we're getting to the point where we can link them together and they can communicate one with another. But the common user, you or I, aren't able to do this quite yet. So that happens, and when it does, it's called the World Wide Web. So let's talk about how that got started. Well, it was really with a proposal that was first written up in 1989 and kind of finalized in 1991. And he invents these standards that he calls HTML, Hypertext Markup Language. And he creates the first standards for browsers so that people can see documents and images through the World Wide Web. And this is Tim Berners-Lee. And to quote him here, he says, most of the technology involved for the web, like hypertext, the internet, multi-text objects, had already been designed. He just put them together. It was a step of generalization, going to a higher level of abstraction, thinking about all the document systems out there as being a possibility to create a larger documentation system. So parts and pieces already existed. No one figured out how to make it accessible to everyday people until Tim Berners-Lee came along. Ironically, this all happened because he was an academic. He was trying to share his paper and view other papers, and he noticed, well, he recognized that all academic papers have references, and he was kind of frustrated that as he looked at his own personal computer and he could read one of these papers, he got to the end and looked at the references and he wanted to learn more, and he knew that there was a system called hypertext linking that would allow one paper to link to another. And he thought, well, why don't we just start doing this? And so the web was first envisioned as more of an academic tool for linking papers referencing other papers. It's certainly morphed into something more than that. But quite an interesting start. So here they are at the Particle Physics Laboratory, CERN, in Switzerland. And this is the very computer used, a Next computer. Steve Jobs, for a while, broke away from Apple, founded this company. It was that computer that was used to write up this proposal. And here's an image for the proposal explaining how it would work. This is the very first web page. Don't laugh. But looks like Times New Roman, and all the hyperlinks are in blue with underline. We want to emphasize those, don't we? And then here's the code used to create those. And in this class, you're going to be learning about this code. Notice there's body here and H1, and you have some active anchor links and a header and a title. All those things are still applicable. We don't write it quite that way anymore. A little cleaner. And here's the first web browser for 1990. Notice it's a browser and an editor called Hypermedia Browser Editor. There's the computer. And, Steve Jobs had something to do with this. Interesting. All right. Well, now Tim Berners-Lee, he's been knighted, so he's Sir Tim Berners-Lee, and he goes on to lead the World Wide Web Consortium. This is the place that kind of makes sure to set the guidelines related to HTML and now CSS as well, and that those standards are followed. And by setting those standards and keeping that consistency, the whole world can communicate one with another. So it's a very important thing that's been done. It's a very good thing. And I hope that gives you a little insight into the interesting world of how web coding and web design all got started. Thank you.